Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. Now, before we get to our conversation today, if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you're listening to it on any of our audio platforms, please give us a 5-star rating. I am thrilled to welcome this incredible performer because, guys, get this. She has performed or recorded with the following people: Amy Grant, Beyonce, Bruce Springsteen, Bruno Mars, Sir Elton John, Lady Gaga, Sting, and Wynonna Judd. Now, she also has performed in 2 presidential inaugurations for former President Bill Clinton and former President Barack Obama. And she's also a cast member on the famous 20 Feet from Stardom documentary. So please help me welcome Tabitha Fair.
Thank you so much. That was such an awesome introduction. Thank you.
You're so welcome, Tabitha. I always do it for my guests. Just to make sure they have like a talk show atmosphere.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Tabitha, when did you get interested in music and how did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the recording industry?
I think that passion started from birth, basically. I was just, I'm a preacher's daughter, and I grew up singing in the church. And as I think a lot of musicians and artists, I think, most of us kind of grow up in that way. And I think I knew at like age 5 that that's what I wanted to do with my life. I knew at a very young age. And growing up in the church singing was such a wonderful experience. And it taught me a lot. It taught me about communication, primarily about how to connect to your higher power. And then you kind of source that out in front of you, and connect to those out in the audience. So.
Awesome. So who are some of your role models in the industry and how did they impact your sound?
Some of my role models were an artist named Andre Crouch, which, he's from really more of the gospel music industry. And I started listening to him probably age 9 or 10. And I just loved the sound of his voice and I loved his writing. I loved the production on his records. I would listen to those records over and over and over. My favorite was this album called Andre Crouch and the Disciples' Life from Carnegie Hall. And I listened to that record over and over, just imagining what it would be like to get to perform there, So Andre was a huge, person in my young growth as a singer, as was Reba Rambo, who I've gotten to know and work with since. And then, of course, listening to Top 40 radio, listening to Michael McDonald, just those kind of soulful artists. I definitely gravitated towards, Black gospel music, and those artists were huge influences on my singing.
I'm glad you mentioned Andre Crouch because the only thing that I know from him is always his choirs, because his choirs seem like the go-to choirs for Michael Jackson's Man the Meter and Keep the Faith, and then Madonna's Like a Prayer.
Yes. Andre, his tentacles went out a lot of different directions, musical directions. I think he worked with Quincy Jones, and he's worked with so many different people. And just his music was so inspirational and just quality. I just loved the soulfulness in his writing and in his expression. I think that's one of the reasons why I loved his music so much, was just because how inspirational it was. And I feel very fortunate that he was one of the ones that I got to grow up, with as a kid. So, and also Amy Grant, I have to mention her. She was also very influential in my music, and who would have thought that later on in my career I would have toured with her several times. And I remember at the age of, I think maybe it was 13, I actually ran into her at the Dallas airport. And I had to go catch my connection to my next flight, and it might have been like one of the first times I'd ever flown by myself, and I was a little nervous, And so I get on this tram to go to my connection, and who is there in this little tram but Amy Grant and her manager. And I looked at her, and I looked again, and I was like, okay, that's got to be Amy Grant. So I asked her, I said, hey, are you Amy Grant? And she said, yes. And we started chatting, and she was just so kind. As she's one of the kindest people I know anyhow, after working with her and getting to tour with her. But in that moment, she really connected to me and looked me right in the eyes. And and I told her, I think that she was one of my favorite artists. And I think I even said to her, someday I'm going to get to sing with you.
and
I did.
And that's an incredible story. So how did that happen?
Well, so 2 years later, I'm living in Nashville, Tennessee. And I was working with her producer, Keith Thomas. And he's the one who kind of discovered me in Nashville. He had seen a couple of things that I had done, and he just picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, I really am. I love what you do. And he said, I'd love to work with you. Let's get together. So I did. And from that moment, he just hooked me up with a lot of different things that he was connected to, including Amy Grant. So that's kind of how that happened. He recommended me for her tour. And one day I'm just driving down the street, tootling down Nashville roads. And I get this call, and I pick it up, and this woman says, hey, Tabitha. She says, this is Amy Grant. And I had to pull the car over. And at that point, she said, hey, you were recommended to do this tour coming up with me through Keith Thomas. And she said, would you like to do it? And I was like, yeah, of course I would. So that's how all that happened. And it's, as we know, the music industry is really all about connections, and one connection takes you to the next, to the next, to the next, and that's why I think as a professional, you have to prepare and have to be your best no matter what, because you just never know. You never know what could happen and who's going to connect you to what,
I would love to learn about some of these connections, because your resume is holy smokes.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like I've just been super fortunate throughout my career, and just getting to perform and record and write with with the music industry's most amazing artists. I've been just really blessed, and I know for myself, like I'm a perfectionist, and especially when it comes to my music, I try to go in and just do the best job that I can and bring my A game to whatever it is I'm doing. And I feel fortunate because some of the artists I've gotten to work with are just the best people, and and they've appreciated my hard work and what I bring to the table. Whenever I come in and do a gig, or I do a recording or anything, so yeah, I just feel blessed. So
awesome. Can we talk about some of those people and the lessons you learned from them?
Okay, well, let's start with Sting.
Okay, Sting.
All right, let's talk about Sting for a minute. So when I lived in New York City for 16 years. I lived here in Nashville for 14, and then New York City 16, and now I've been back in Nashville for around 6 years. And so while living in New York City, I got to do just a lot of different kind of performances, whether it was on television or film or live performances. So as I was saying earlier, the music industry is all about connections and is about relationships. And so what's great about relationships, when you develop those really strong musical relationships, those people will recommend you for gigs, and they'll recommend you for just whatever, and musical, opportunities. And So one of my friends was hooked up with Sting on his Rainforest benefit. She would sing with him. They would do those every couple of years. And so they were asking about some new kind of bringing in some new blood to the background section. And so I was recommended through a couple of my girlfriends who are singers up in New York. And they recommended me for that show with Sting. And then that basically just, from that moment on, I did all the Rainforest benefits. And that was probably about 15 or 16 years of working with Sting on that show. And also I got to do his 60th birthday show at the Beacon. That was really amazing. And you can find that actually, it streams on YouTube. It's been streaming on there ever since, and some other platforms. And then I got to do television shows and just different things. And the Kennedy Center Honors, I got to honor him there. I did that show for probably 16 years as well.
The Kennedy Center Honors is one of my all-time favorite specials. So that show means a lot to me. It's a show that's on a regular basis, gets covered on the Jake's Take platform.
Are you serious?
Yes,
I love it.
I recap it every year. I recap a majority of the years. And Sting, and I gotta say, Gaga's "If I Lose My Faith in You," that was still one of my all-time favorite moments from the Kennedy Centers. The past decade.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I did that show off and on 15 years with Rob Mathis, who was our musical director at the time, and getting to work with him was a dream, because he's a brilliant everything, a musician, conductor, arranger, just everything. And he's worked with Sting off and on now since those Kennedy Center Honors. So, like I said, these gigs lead into other things, tentacles everywhere, so.
I got to start with Kennedy Center Honors because there's some, who, besides Sting, which other tributes were a part of?
Let's see, Loretta Lynn, James Brown.
That was a really good one with Yolanda Adams singing "Georgia on My Mind." That was a showstopper.
So good. Paul McCartney.
one of my all-time favorite moments. There was Steven Tyler stole the show with Abbey Road.
I know. I got to sing with him on that. That was incredible.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, Tina Turner.
That was a legendary, especially with Beyonce.
That was one of the times I got to sing with Beyonce, and man, that was just a blast. Let's just talk about her for a minute. Okay. Just a woman that she is professional. I mean, there are those artists that come in who just are on their A game. They are you can tell that they've put the time in, and that they love what they do, and she showed up, man, she was just like, bam, here I am. So, I mean, she's amazing. She's a total professional. Another artist, Reba McEntire. She's another one who I got to do the Kennedy Center Honors with, and talk about another woman that is just such a professional and a very kind person too, just very sweet. So let me move forward. So did I say Dolly Parton, that we honored her as well?
Yeah, Dolly is one of my favorites. I actually interviewed Dolly twice. It was with I was a reporter on a conference call with 24 others, and I was very fortunate enough to hear her answer questions twice, back in 2014 and 2016.
Oh my goodness. So amazing. There's others, and I'm just blanking on who they are right now.
Were you part of Elton John's one? Because that's still one of my all-time favorite moments.
I don't know. Yes. I think I was on that one. Yes.
That was still one of the movies, it was perfect. Billy Joel, Fantasia, then Kid Rock, and Heather Headley, still one of the most moving performances. I still watch that performance, that tribute, all the time. It was so good. Fantasia and Heather especially. And seeing Kid Rock getting those people out of their seats.
Yes, he did. I was on that one. Yeah, those shows, you just never knew what was going to happen. They were all just so well done. And that whenever I would get called to do the honors, I would be like, okay, who's going to be honoring who and what, because the people who we were going to get to perform with, that was just like so cool. Because you never knew. Oh, Bruno Mars got to sing with him on there and got to sing with him on a couple of other things too. But he was incredible. He was one of the people who honored Sting on the Kennedy Center honors. So talk about another professional. Just comes with his A game, knowing all the lyrics to the songs and the arrangements and having ideas about the arrangements as well. Someone's done their homework when they have ideas about the arrangements.
I agree. I really want to see him live one day.
Oh man, what a great performer and great voice. I think he's one of the ones out there now who's, on the pop charts who's just, his talent level is just, he sets the bar, I think. He's one of the ones who will be legendary,
I totally agree. We got that while we're in Washington, subject of Washington, D.C. In your history, you've also worked with performed on presidential inaugurals. The second one for President Clinton and the second one for former President Obama.
Yes. Well, let's just talk about the latest one with Obama. That one was his first, the first one, and we were the band who performed with all the artists on the mall for the whole thing.
That was one of the most legendary concerts I have ever seen. I'm so sorry, with Bruce Springsteen with The Rising, with Shakira and Usher and Stevie Wonder doing Higher Ground, with Garth Brooks Surprise with American Pie and Shout.
Yeah. So yeah, we were the house, basically the house band for Obama's inauguration on the mall. That was so crazy to look out from that stage and just see the sea of people out there. There were thousands and thousands of people out there. And then not to mention, as it was being televised, all the people who were watching, it was just an honor to get to be on that, And once again, Rob Mathis, he was our fearless leader on that show. So to be a part of history like that, wow. I mean, and the fact that you can actually go back and see that too is really cool. So, yeah, that was probably, that's at the top of my list as far as, iconic performances. That would have to be it. And then, okay, so now let's talk about Clinton. So that was the celebration after party to get to do that. I played the Clinton inaugurational ball, and I did that. That was with artists like, trying to remember all the artists who were on that date. There were Michael McDonald was on it. Gosh, I'm just blanking on who's on that because I've just done a lot of shows since then. But that night was pretty awesome. I think I got to sing a duet with Michael McDonald that night on that inauguration. So that was pretty cool. So lots of wonderful memories, and sometimes my memory fails me because, you just do a lot of music between times. So, which isn't a bad thing. So
I totally agree, Tabitha. Another name that you've worked with a lot of names, and one name that stood out to me the most was Carole King.
Yeah. I got to attend this, it was a writer's camp in the south of France, and it's Miles Copeland's castle. And yeah, so I did that. It was in the 90s, maybe. It was like 1995, 6, something like that. And did that back then, and then got to write actually with Carole King at that retreat. And her daughter Louise was there also, and I got to become friends with Louise, and she's one of my buddies. After all these years, we've written together tons. And Greg Wells was also there. He's now Sir Greg Wells, from what I understand. and Greg has worked with Katy Perry and the Pink, and the list goes on and on. All the people he's worked with over the years. But I've also written a lot with him, and that retreat was just incredible. A lot of those people became lifelong friends, and I think that when you get an opportunity to do a lot of songwriting like that in an environment like that, it's just such an intimate experience, and you definitely can create just some magical relationships from having those kind of intimate experiences with people. So anyhow, back to Carole. We wrote this song at this retreat called "If We Get Through This," and so it's one of those things where you get up in the morning and they put you with two other songwriters, and you never know from one day to the next who that might be, and they're from all genres of music. So you might have a person that they're rock and roll, another person who's country, and then another person who does pop or whatever. So they put you all together in a room, and then you write a song, and then you record it the same day that you write it. And then, so by the end of the day, you have a full on recorded song with these legendary writers or artists, So the last day of the retreat was when I got to actually write with Carole. So I was hoping, because it was a 5-day retreat. I was hoping and praying that I would get the opportunity. And lo and behold, the last day, they said, "Hey, Tabitha, we want you to write with Carole King." And I was like, that's so amazing. So we did. We got into the room, and she said, "Hey, I've had this idea." She started singing it and everything. And from that point, I was just like, yeah, that's it. That's beautiful. Let's write to that. So we did. And then I helped write the bridge of the song. And then we all wrote the lyrics together. And it was just, how sometimes songs they just come out so quickly and so easily. And that's how that song came out. It was just quick and easy and just there. And so we ended up recording it, and it went so well that Carole called me a few years later, or I got a call and saying that they wanted to put the song in a movie.
Wow.
Yeah. And the movie was Sum of All Fears with Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman. And so, of course, I was so thrilled. And then they said, "We also want you to sing the song. We want you to perform the song." And so so I did. And then I wasn't quite sure if the song was even going to be on the soundtrack. And it was in the movie and on the soundtrack. So it was just like, from doing this retreat in the south of France, not knowing if I would get the opportunity to write with Carole King, which I did. Then from there, that song caught fire, and now it's in a legendary movie, and you can go and hear it on iTunes and Spotify and all of those things. So yeah, and I get to say I'm probably one of the few who have gotten to write with Carole King, because I don't know if she does much co-writing anymore. So I feel blessed that I got to do that.
I'm so happy about that. And I want to congratulate Miss King on being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame finally.
Yay. Yes. That is amazing. I just saw it actually on all my social medias on Facebook, and because I'm friends, of course, with Louise. And so she was posting all these really cool photos. So yeah, Miss Carole King, she deserves it. She's a legend, such a wonderful songwriter and artist.
Absolutely. Without her, we wouldn't have a lot of different things. And still, back to with Carole King and the Kennedys, I got to say, I love Aretha Franklin's final performance of "You Make Me Feel" still one of the best moments from all time.
Oh yeah. Now, unfortunately, I was not on that Kennedy Center honors.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Yeah.
That's such a shame.
I know. But yeah, I would have loved to have been one of the ones to honor her on that. But yeah, and it would have been great to sing with Aretha. I came this close to getting to sing with Aretha a couple of times, but it just never happened.
I know. It's like, well, I've actually talked with a connection with Aretha. It was an opera singer named Aubrey DuBois Harris, and she she's an incredible woman, and not only that, but she also shared incredible stories with Aretha.
I actually heard that podcast.
Really?
I listened to it. Yes, I did, and I loved that interview. I loved it. Just so beautiful. Yeah.
And thank you so much. So I would love to talk to you about the challenges that you face working in the industry, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
Well, I think in our industry, there can be lulls occasionally, and when those do happen, you just have to know that the next gig will be there. You just have to just stay positive. And, sometimes I think when those lulls happen, sometimes I look at that as being a message from God to some degree. And maybe that's a message of, hey, you need to move forward, and you need to maybe go somewhere else, or, if things aren't really happening here for you like you want them to, it's time to move on, move forward, go somewhere else, and which that's happened to me before. It happened to me when I moved from New York back to Nashville. Things got a little sparse there for a while. And I just remember having those moments of fear and of, just, well, God, what is your purpose here for my life at this point? And in that moment, just really connecting to God in that moment really helped me get through that time of maybe being afraid. And when I did connect to him, I remember making a list of goals for myself, because I think when those lulls happen, you have to then kind of figure out, well, what can I do to create more opportunities for myself? And so I made a list of things. I made a new goal list, and I envisioned myself doing certain things. And one of the things I envisioned doing was going out on another tour, and being featured on the tour. And you're not going to believe this, but about 3 months later, after I did that, I got a call from one of my girlfriends here in Nashville. Her name is Kim Geese, and she tours with Amy, and she and I have known each other for years. And she said, would you be interested in going and doing a residency with Rascal Flatts in Vegas? Okay. And then a possible tour could come from that. And I was like, heck yeah. And she said, well, you might have to relocate to Nashville. And I said, hey, sounds good, And so I said yes to the residency. And then as we're preparing for the residency, the musical director comes up to me and he said, hey, do you know the song Easy? It's a duet.
Oh yeah, with Natasha Bedingfield.
Yeah, you know that song? And I said, yeah. I said, I actually had to learn that song about 2 months ago for the show that I did at Rockwood Music Hall 3. I used to do this duet night. And so one of my buddies that I had asked to come do that, D-Train Williams, he said, hey, I got these two songs. It was a song Happy, and one not Happy. It was something else. I don't remember, but this other song, and then the Easy song. And I said, hey, I really love the Easy song. Let's do that. So I learned that song for that performance 2 months prior to me getting this opportunity with the Flats. So what I'm saying is making goals, making lists, making all that, and then presenting it to your higher power, your God, that, and you start visualizing. So that easy song set me up for the tour. Whenever I had to learn it for my duo performance, that set me up for the tour. I just think that when you connect to your higher power, anything is possible, especially with intention. So
absolutely. I still get that song. That song brings back so many memories, and it's so underrated.
yeah, it really is. It's beautiful. So I got to sing that on tour with Rascal Flatts. We ended up doing the residency. It went great, and they hired us girls to go out and do a year-long Riot tour. And I got to sing that song every night with Gary LaVox. I was Natasha on that whole tour. So
Gary did an incredible job picking you out to sing that song.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All
It
right.
was fun.
So one of the things I was looking at as I was preparing my interview questions was 50. As I saw 50 Free from Stardom. Now, guys, if you don't know that movie, you need to watch this movie. It showcases the power of the backing and the importance of the backing singers and follows that. So, Tabitha, how did you get involved with that production?
A good friend of mine, his name is Greg Clark, and Greg is no longer with us. He passed away, unfortunately, too young, but he was a dear friend, and he was friends with the director of the film. And so he got all of his New York ladies or friends who were professionals in the industry to be a part of the film. And so I was one of the people asked to be a part of it. And he was the conduit, to getting me involved. And so I went in and they interviewed me, and then some of the footage that you see in the film was of me singing with Sting for his 60th birthday at the Beacon. So so you see me briefly in the movie preparing for that concert. And then if you look at the outtakes or you can see my interview on that as well. So yeah, so that was a real honor to be one of the singers involved in that movie. So thank you for asking.
You're welcome. You're with an incredible company too. Mary Clayton, Darlene Love, Judith Hill.
Yeah, and Lisa Fischer.
Oh yeah, I cannot forget about Lisa. I cannot forget about Lisa.
Yeah, so Lisa is one of my buddies. I would say out of all those ladies, she's my heart, and I've gotten to sing with her quite a bit over the years. And whenever you sing with Lisa, she just brings this just beautiful soul to whatever she's doing. Not to mention her incredible voice. And that's one of the reasons why she's who she is and why she sings with the Stones. I mean, she's their number one, whenever they go on tour, and she's touring quite a bit herself right now as a solo artist. So if you get a chance to go see Lisa Fischer in concert, it's an experience. It's really amazing.
I also talked with another woman who's toured with the Stones, Sasha Allen, and oh my God, those Mary, Sasha, and Lisa deliver the best versions of Gimme Shelter.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
I remember seeing like some clips of the Rolling Stones tours back in 2012, 2013 when they had Florence Welch and Gaga, and I gotta say, Gaga was the only person that comes close to break to that trinity. Only one.
Really? I don't think I've seen that performance. I'm gonna have to check that out. I love Lady Gaga. I think she can take any genre and really make you believe that she does it just that one genre. The stuff she's done with Tony Bennett and whatever, the film the Star is Born movie. I mean, just whatever she does, she just brings just this beautiful artistry to it.
I've seen her. I'm very grateful. I've seen her live twice. Once for the Monster Ball tour, and once with the American Music Awards when she performed there.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I've gotten to sing with her quite a bit, and talk to her a little bit, and she's one of the other ladies in this industry who's just a professional all the way, you know, and you can tell that she just loves what she does. And I think that's the secret, right? It's like, if you love what you do, you want to do your best.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I got to talk about this new track, your new track, "Fly," that you featured with Billboard-charting artist Macau. And so
Yes.
I've been listening to that song so many different times. It's incredible.
You have. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I met Macau through Lionel Vargas LP, and it was kind of over the pandemic. Through the pandemic, we had LP had talked to me about recording a song and a dance song, and anyhow, he was like, I met this guy, DJ Macau, and I just think you guys should write a song together and we should record it, because I happen to be in Los Angeles helping a friend with helping her friend move her dogs to LA. And so he said, well, why don't we record this song? Why don't you and Macau write together and record a song while you're there? So that's what we ended up doing, and it was "Fly." And then, we didn't release it because we wanted to wait until the pandemic was kind of past us a little bit. So that's what we did, and it's been out now since the summer. And from what I understand, it's on the dance charts right now at number 23. Yeah, pretty cool.
Anytime your song makes it a chart, it's as you know that you got like a win in your book.
Yes, exactly. What a wonderful thing that we did that through while the pandemic was going on, and the world was going crazy.
Yeah,
a lot of craziness through that time, and a lot of fear and everything, especially when it came to getting on a flight and going anywhere. But I felt comfortable enough at that point to mask up and get on that flight and go. And I did. And then the song "Fly" came out of that. So, and we wanted to write something just fun and something, just a really positive message. And because things at that point were so heavy, we wanted something light and fun. And so that's what "Fly" is. It's just a song about freedom and love, and everybody come sit at our table, let's dance.
I totally agree with the dancing part. So we got to start winding down our conversation.
Okay.
So Tabitha, if you had the opportunity to meet with artists that are just in their first few years and are wanting to stay in the industry for a strong length around time, like for 10 or 15, what advice would you share with them?
Don't give up. Just keep doing be true to yourself. Prepare, do the work, whatever work it is. Don't slack. Bring your A game and give it your best, give it your all, and sing, play, get out there, do your thing. Play as much as you can, write as much as you can. That's the only way to get better. And be nice to people, be kind. Don't be an asshole.
Okay. Those are great lessons. Great life lessons right there.
Yes.
All right, so here's the last question.
Okay.
Where can my audience find your music, number one? Number two, if you're on social media, where can they find you?
Okay, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. You can also get my music on iTunes, Spotify, basically all the digital platforms. You can find me.
Awesome. Yep. So guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, visit our Apple Podcast, Deezer, Google Podcast, Spotify Addict, Podcast Addict, Spotify, and Spreaker channels. It's Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Visit our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube pages. Jacob Elyachar, Elyachar. Tabitha, Jake's Take is in the middle of its 10th anniversary celebration.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Annie. And if you want to check out my Kennedy Center honors recaps and more interviews, head to jakes-take.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. And if you're financially able to, please consider heading to PayPal to help keep Jake's Take and my platform up and running. I'm the one that's doing all the interviews, booking, editing. I would love if you can financially too. I totally understand. But please go and like my social media pages and subscribe to the podcast as return. Tabitha, this was an incredible conversation. I am truly honored to have you on my platform.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And really thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. Until next time, see you later, everybody. Bye.
Bye.